We don't always have enough time to cover all of the recent news, so here with a recap is late night writer Amber Ruffin in a segment we call Amber Says What.
You guys, things have been crazy. Okay, first of all, I found out that there isn't going to be a big fat Emmy ceremony this year. And I was like, what? They were like, we are still not gathering in large groups. And I was like, what? I miss people. Then they were like, this is good for you, Amber, because you're not going to be able to get drunk and act a fool in a formal gown. And I was like, what? You can't tell me what to do. Then Donald Trump bragged about passing a cognitive test. And I was like, what? Do you think they give those to everybody? They give them to people who are losing their dang minds. This is like you bragging you took a sobriety test. If you weren't swerving all over the place, you wouldn't have to identify shapes and animals. You want to impress me? Spell cognitive. The test is too easy. Look, I'll take it right now. Idiot. I passed. Then a megachurch pastor in Atlanta suggested that instead of saying white privilege, that people should say white blessing. And I was like, what? White blessing? You mean my nickname for Anderson Cooper? White blessing? You mean the stripper from Tina's bachelorette party? White blessing? Sounds like the nastiest sex move. Then I read a story about how a black man carried a Black Lives Matter counter protester to safety. And I was like, what? But the makers of the Green Book were like, what? We had better get to writing this story from the perspective of the man who was carried. You know what they're going to call that movie, don't you? White Blessing. Then I found out there was going to be a professional women's soccer team in Los Angeles with Serena Williams and Natalie Portman as investors. And I was like, what? Hooray! I'm going to find out when auditions are and prepare a dramatic monologue. Then my friend told me it's not auditions, it's tryouts, and you don't prepare a monologue, you play the sport. And I was like, okay, fine, but I'm still going to wear a gown. Speaking of sports, I found out about the NBA bubble, and I was like, what? Because, and the thing about the NBA bubble is it's a metaphorical bubble and a physical.
Amber, you don't have to talk about that.
Yay! Then I saw that people are circulating a petition to replace Confederate statues with statues of Dolly Parton. And I was like, what? Now that's what I call a white-centered solution. No shade to Dolly, but if slave owners get replaced with anything less black than Malcolm X, I will freak the out. Then Ivanka Trump was like, eat these beans. And I was like, what? No. Then Obama and Joe Biden sat down for a socially distanced conversation. And I was like, what are you doing sitting so far away from each other? Is it 6 feet or 60 feet? Obama, are you trying to distance yourself from Biden? That's not going to work because he mentions you in every sentence. Then infectious disease expert Dr. Anthony Fauci threw out the first pitch at the Washington Nationals opening day. And I was like, what are you doing playing catch? You had better get inside and take care of America. I'm walking around with a cut up sock on my face and you are at recess? Get inside and do something. Then I saw the pitch and felt better because it was clear he didn't waste any time practicing. Then Marco Rubio posted a picture of him and the late Congressman John Lewis, but it was actually a picture of him and the late Congressman Elijah Cummings. And I was like, what? Do you think that all of us look alike? By us, I mean people who don't like you. Then I heard that Jennifer Hudson is going to play Aretha Franklin in a new biopic. And I was like, just a little what? Just a little what? What it to me, what it to me, what it to me, what it to me. Then the most confusing thing in the world happened. Okay, Trump was going to give a speech and he had these two trucks there. A blue one with a bunch of weight in the bed and a sign that said 40 years of regulatory burden. And then a red one with no weights that said 4 years of regulatory freedom. I guess it was supposed to represent how free Republicans are. Look, I think it's nuts. And it brings us to a segment called Amber Says Why. You wanted to make some point about how regulations weigh you down, and this is how you chose to do it? Why? Why this? Why did someone do this? And what is the this that they did? What's the point of this? To prove it could be done? Why? Why did someone do this? What was the desired effect? Laughter, pride, shame? What? What is this? A dare? What? Why? Why is this happening? And what is happening? Why this? This? Why? Why did this happen and why did you let someone take pictures of it while it was happening? Did you know this was going to be public? Was it meant to be private? Did you know that people can see this? I can see this. Where did this idea come from? A dream? A threat? Where? Did this happen against your will, or was this exactly what you wanted? And if so, why is this a want that you have? Why are your wants bad? Don't you want good? Why? Did a dumb person tell you this was not dumb? Or, and this is what I think happened, did a smart person who hates you tell you this was not dumb? Who lied? How many people had to lie for this to take place? 100? Did you think that this was what someone wanted done? And who are they? And are they okay? In closing, why? This has been Amber Says What? And then she says why.